of Scythe by Neil Shusterman. And Colin's joining me today because he just wanted to sit on my lap. Here we go. Okay, so this is the first book in the arc of the Scythe, and our main characters are Scythe Terranova, or I'm not quite sure how you would pronounce that one, Rowan Damnish, Scythe Faraday, Scythe Curie, and Scythe Goddard. The near future, when the cloud, where we put all our save stuff on the internet, has basically got large enough that it can achieve consciousness, and man and woman, human beings, have achieved immortality. The only way death occurs now is by being dealt out by a society of men and women called scythes. Seems to be an idea of how to cull the population and keep the population from growing out of control. So rather than having a birth restriction, they just randomly kill people depending on their particular methodology of how they choose people to be gleaned. And they call it gleaning after the old idea that the poor would be able to go after the plows have been through the fields and actually take the pieces of wheat that had been left over. That's where that word comes from. Scythes, or these people in this society, are mostly chosen for their high values and morals and compassion. However, some are lacking in the compassion seen as needed and highly prized when the order was first made up. Scythe and Rowan are our main characters, and they are late high school age in the start of this book, and they have been chosen to apprentice with and by Faraday Scythe in an unprecedented double apprenticeship. He has come across these two children in their daily life in an almost accidental, sort of serendipitous way, and he has chosen them for the way that they conducted themselves. Because when a scythe turns up to your house, most people are scared witless, because it is the only kind of death that's left to them. Particularly, he's been drawn to Rowan's compassion, because in their meeting first, the Scythe Faraday has actually come to Rowan's school to take the star quarterback, because his methods are sort of statistical, and he finds that one out of every so many deaths would have been a vehicle-related, alcohol-related teenager, and the star quarterback of their football team has recently got a car, has been known to drink, and so he's decided that that boy is going to be his gleaning for that day. The double apprenticeship, the society has all these conclaves and meetings 3 times a year, and the Mid-America conclave is what Scythe Faraday belongs to. So the first one comes up, and there's 2 issues at stake here. There's the issue of the double apprenticeship by Scythe Faraday, and there is another scythe called Scythe Goddard who's been going around and doing mass murder style gleanings, where the first one that we hear about is in a aeroplane. So they've gone onto an aeroplane and gone, you all have been selected for gleaning. The law states with the gleanings that if you resist in any way or run away, your entire family then gets gleaned as punishment. If, however, you go through with your gleaning, your entire family gets 1 year's immunity from being gleaned themselves. So these are the 2 issues that are brought up as major issues within the first conclave of that year. It is believed that Scythe Goddard has put up the issue himself so that he could basically say, well, who accuses me of this? Why are you accusing me of this? And so that no one will obviously step forward, because he's put up the accusatory sort of notion, and shows that, so to all intents and purposes, he's gone, well, they won't ask again because they'll look like an idiot because they weren't brave enough to stand up at the first conclave. Then he suggests that to make it fair, the double apprenticeship, the one who does not succeed will have to kill... Sorry, the one that does succeed will have to kill the one who does not, as Scythe Faraday can only give out one ring, which is the symbol of the Scythes. That introduces Scythe Goddard, who is a new sort of regime within the Scythehood that believe that the old ways of single gleanings and the values and compassion that were originally used to set up the Scythehood itself are old school and need to be rethought, basically just rethought and thrown out. Scythe Curie comes into it as she is the Scythe who tests both Rowan and Sita at the first conclave, and she is allied with Scythe Faraday, and her nickname is the Grand Dame of Death because she actually gleaned the president and the cabinet of United States when the cloud became the thunderhead. Sita and Rowan are now pitted against each other, and they don't really know how to react to each other because in addition to being told that one of them's going to have to kill the other, they're also teenagers and they kind of have a thing for each other. We then come to the end of the first act in this, and something big happens to change all of this but still continue in this manner. And it becomes more important that the whole mass gleaning things, and the Grand Dame of Death, Scythe Curie, she becomes more important in Sita's apprenticeship, and Scythe Goddard becomes more important in Rowan's apprenticeship. I think I've managed to do that without actually spoiling anything. I really liked this novel. I liked the concept of the and the execution, pardon the pun, but Shusterman has a tendency to pack in too many words where less would do and even be more effective, and that sort of slightly ground on me a little bit. Oh, love you, but you're in the way of my script. Oh. It is very hard to like any particular character or even respect them in this book. Something that is explored is the diary of excerpts from the Scythes and the way that life itself and the way we live seems less now that death is not a major factor in that process. This makes two extremes of characters. So the first type is the less than human style character that, although they live forever, they're actually really bored because nothing can hit the extremes of life and death anymore. The seconds are the maniacs that try and live life to the excess because they can't get the extremes of life and death anymore. So the motivations are the same, but the outcome is completely opposite. And it just makes for non-likable characters. People who I think the sort of people who are going to like this book are people who like speculative fiction that's a warning. Like 1984 was a warning, Brave New World was a warning, this sort of thing is a warning as well. What's refreshing is that the big bad, the threat within the book, is actually not the thunderhead and the cloud that has complete consciousness and is able to interfere, but not, it's got a sort of non-interference sort of consciousness to it. The big bad in this book is man, and I really enjoy that, especially with all those things where it's how in 2001 A Space Odyssey, and it's the net. Skynet in Terminator and those sorts of things, where it's always the high artificial intelligence that's the threat, where here it's the high artificial intelligence is taking a non-interference policy on it, and the humans are just going nuts. So it's a refreshing look on something that's a bit of a played out trope, or could have been a played out trope, where the computer is the one that's the megalomaniac. Overall, I really did enjoy this book. I think he could have cut out a couple of words here and there and it would have been a bit more effective, but Shusterman's really got a unique idea here as far as I can tell. That is my review of Neil Shusterman's Scythe, the first in the Scythe, the Arc of the Scythe. If you liked my slightly different review style, can I get some comments and some feedback on the way I've done this time? Trying to get something that's a little bit more effective than just yeah, it was a nice book and it's got a nice cover. And so if you liked it, give it a thumbs up. If you want to hear more or just see this little joke, hit that subscribe button and happy reading. Bye.